Okay, here we are uh, on a fine Tuesday afternoon. All right, I'm story time. We'll start with story time. Uh, so I had a job interview this morning, and beforehand felt fine. Going into it felt fine. While I was in there, felt fine. Came out of it, all of a sudden I'm all anxious. Uh, I don't know. I don't know what the heck happened there. Um, so probably just the prospect of change. Um, Hi, Felix. Um, yeah, I didn't feel like it. Well, of course, I've been post analyzing it in my head all day. So uh, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said this instead. You know, that kind of thing. Um, in the moment, I felt like it went fine. So and considering how fast they got back to me from the application and how fast they scheduled me for an interview, despite their telling me that, oh, we've got interviews all week, I suspect they might have not had a lot of applicants. Um, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Um, but onto the food front, I always on the lookout for cheap items. The price of beef and the price of chicken have both gone up a lot lately, if you hadn't noticed. But the price of pork is still quite affordable. Hopefully, I hear good news. Yes, I'm. They said they'll be back. They'll get back to me by the end of the week, so I won't have news for the show until next week. But fingers crossed. So it sounds like it's gonna be quite an interesting job. Um, it might interrupt this because it's a lot of uh, closing shift, which is it's a library, so they're not like they're working into the wee hours of the night. But it'll bite into these afternoon things. Meat. I was saying meat. I so it's a cut of meat I've never worked with before, and there were a bunch of them in the discount bin, so I grabbed some. I froze one and I marinated one. It's a pork shoulder blade steak, which I have here. It's in the marinade, so you can't see much, but if I squeeze the marinade, kind of make it out. I probably should just take it out right now because it needs to dry off its surface a bit and get out of that marinade before I cook it. So I'll show it to you as soon as I get it out of there. Hello, welcome in. I was just did you catch? You'd be interested in this. I was just saying. I I'll, I guess I'll repeat myself for your benefit. Um, I had a job interview this morning, and I was super not nervous all the way up, leading up to it, and all the way through it, and then immediately got all anxious afterwards. And I've been running it through my head all day with all the things I should have done different. Um, so we, but yes. So um, pork steak. It looks a lot like a steak. It's actually like a dark red meat as well. It's not like normally pork is much lighter. This is almost like a beef colored red. Uh, so I'm going to cook that, and I'm going to cook it like a steak rather than like try to do anything different with it. And I've got strawberries. If you didn't catch the opening scene, strawberries because they're in season, and there's some pretty. Oop, that one's actually a little bit not so nice. That side was. carefully hidden in between where you couldn't see it until you opened the package. Well, it's a sign that I got to use them up, even though I just bought them. But fresh strawberries, fresh local strawberries. They're from, oh, well, I guess they're from somewhere in the U.S. Unclear exactly where. So I want to use these two things together. And I got a couple of other incidental things here. Some of these are a little bit soft, which is great because I'm going to cook them. And I can. This first one I picked up might end up getting pitched because it's got a little bit of fuzz on it. I'll see if I can cut the fuzz off. But that is the plan. I'm going to make meat, and I'm going to make some sort of strawberry sauce for my marinated meat. And maybe I'll make I've got salad greens. I might make a strawberry salad. Who knows? We'll see where life takes us. The only things I know I'm going to do is the meat and some kind of strawberry element on the meat. So let me get rid of that because I'm not starting soon. I'm started. This guy is first up. I need to get him out of there. I don't think we're going to worry about getting up to room temperature, but I would like to dry the surface off a bit so that when I throw it in the pan, it has a chance to get brown and crusty on the outside. As always, I don't actually have a camera by my sink, so I want to open this over there so that I don't lose a big puddle of marinade all over the floor. So, get a spatula for scraping. So you'll excuse me while I head over there. I'll get a plate out to deposit it upon. Oh, hello. Did you see him? Or he was off camera. I think he was just off camera. There was an ant right there. I turned around and there was an ant. That's not, he's not invited. Anyways. So I'm just going to take this big old piece of meat out of its marinade and kind of scrape the excess off. I don't want to rinse the excess off. I just want to sort of scrape the excess off. This marinade is a combination of olive oil, soy sauce, garlic powder, black pepper. I've actually put some lemon juice in it, only a little bit. I didn't want my meat to go soft and mushy. Acid will, over time, dissolve your meat, but I wanted a little bit of acid in there. Just a little squirt of lemon juice. And mustard. I put some mustard, which is also acidic. But I've done that before. Put just some mustard as a coating on a piece of meat, and thought it was great. Rinse my hands off, followed by wash my hands off. Now, the soy sauce has given it a distinct brownish color. Oops, someone's talking. Oh, well, they are scouts, but I know where the hill is. I've seen it. It's right outside the back door, which is why I'm getting them here in the kitchen. I've been trying to treat them with non-toxic means, but they may have to resort if they find something and start trailing in. At the minute, it's just an occasional loner. that is my steak. Doesn't it look like a steak? I mean, it's kind of brown now because it got a little bit stained with soy sauce, but doesn't it look like a steak? 'Cause you've got a bone right in the middle there. So I'm going to treat it like a steak. But it's going to have to rest a little bit because I do want the surface to dry out. So I'm also going to, where did I put my roll of paper towels? There it is. I'm going to dry off the outside with paper towels first. So that we have the best chance of it acting like a steak when I cook it. I mean, it is a steak. It's just a steak of a different animal. Oop. Should have thought of that. Of course, it's going to have a little puddle when I put it wet on a plate like that. So, this guy is. I mean, it's not going to take super long to cook this. So it's going to sit on the side here and rest while we work on everything else. I'm going to do it in this brand new nice big cast iron, the same one from the taco pizzas on last Thursday. Although I think it would fit in my small one. I like this big one, and I want to get this big one seasoned up. And the best way to harden up that seasoning on a new pan is just to use the pan. So we'll use that big one. I don't think I need to do any sort of weird basting tricks with it. It's going to get pushed to the side at the moment, though, because I want to make a strawberry sauce. And I don't want to make a pan sauce because I think the acidic strawberries and the acidic other things will eat my pan. So I might end up including pan drippings in the sauce afterwards, but I'm not going to build it in the pan. Plus, I might burn stuff in that pan. Um, so let's get out some bowls and a board. I have a feeling at this stage of today that this is not going to be a super long one. So I'm going to start with this one that's got a little bit of gnarly bits on it here. We're just going to split it right down the middle. With all the gnarly bits on this side. That's a nice looking strawberry. Look at that, guys. All nice and pink, all right through the middle. Gosh. Strawberries in season. Damn, are they good. Take the little greeny thing out of the middle. I am not going to try to salvage anything off of the other half because it's got these weird gnarly bits on it. I'm just going to say a little bit of loss is okay in that case. I want to taste one of these strawberries too. They look so nice. Look at how pretty they are. They're not like, you get strawberries sometimes they got that white core. Not these. These are proper. Taste one of these while they're still fresh. Mmm. Mmm. Wonderful. Perfect. Beautiful strawberry. they're all like that too, which is great. I was looking for. Now, if I recall, and I don't necessarily do, taking that little green part off the top is called hulling. I'm unclear as to why, and I am also not entirely sure that that's accurate. Well, that one's just dirty. A couple of these have a little bit of dirt on the outside. That's what you get from real veggies in a real, or real fruits in a real farm. I don't know how many I'm going to need, but a bunch. For the sauce, I think I'm going to want ones that are diced quite small because it'll help them break down as I cook them. But I like these big wedges. These will be good garnish wedges. So like this guy, it's one of those lumpy ones. And I don't think he's going to make for such nice, perfect wedges. He's definitely just going to get turned into little dices for my sauce. But I'm still taking the green core bit out, and I'm still actually splitting them the same way because it'll be easier to dice them up if I've got them all pre-split. Yes, they cook down. I was thinking, since this is a sweet fruit sauce for a savory application, I don't want to completely. I don't want I don't want it to be like candy sweet. I don't want to make a compote. And strawberries are have quite a bit of acidity to them. So I've never made a dish like what I'm describing. So I don't know the right procedure. But I've got the tomato there because I was thinking either I could include some tomato to bring up some savory element, or if I was making a side salad, which I think I'm going to try making a side salad, I could throw the tomato in there with some strawberries and have a strawberry and tomato salad. Um, a lot of these are just perfect strawberries, though, so that's good. I have plenty for garnish. Um, however many I end up with. This one's also got a little bit of a gnarly bit on it, which I'm just going to. Oh, I think we might have our first loss. Ooh, it's a little brown on the inside. That one. Take the brown part off. That's trouble with strawberries. They go off real quick. So once you got them, you got to use them. Um, but I've also got a bunch of other stuff that I can try to. I'll run ideas by you, and you can tell me which ones you think work. So strawberries. I've also got a lime. I found these guys. They were up on top of my fridge. They're oranges, but as you can see, they're just about the same size as that lime. They weren't when I got them. They've shrunk. They're very kind of dried up. I don't know that I could juice them, but I think I could probably zest them. Uh, when I think of a sauce, I also think of an oniony component. So I've got shallot, or a slightly larger shallot. Uh, I could throw shallot and garlic in with the strawberries, make a sweet, savory type thing. I could go with the fruits and lean harder into the sweetness, or just the lime and lean harder into the acidity. I've got some balsamic vinegar. I've heard of that going well. Keep waiting for one of these to not be gorgeous when I open it up to the middle. And other than that one that had gone brown, these are all perfectly ripe, gorgeous strawberries. Uh, I wonder what farm they came from. But yeah, I was thinking sweetness goes with pork. Not, I've never had strawberry sweetness with pork, but I've had other sweet things with pork. Apples go well with uh, pork, for example. Uh, and apples are also quite acidic, so that's another sort of sweet acid combo. Um, but yeah, so that's where I'm coming from. I'm gonna get a little pot out. I'm gonna do this in a non-stick because I'm afraid the sugars might go sticky. Uh, so strawberries. I've also got some. I've got a couple of wines back here. We could use wine as a liquid element, and I think now it's normally if I was cooking pork, I'd say oh with a white wine 'cause it's very light, but this is such a dark red pork. I'm wondering if it's going to end up being better with a red. Um, I'm going to move the gentleman, keeping us company. I'm not sure that our tiny whisk friend is going to have a lot to do today, but let's get my diced up strawberries just off the board. Boy, if I was making like a cake, these are beautiful strawberries for like making cakes. Um, Here, I'll keep him up at the top there for company. Let's grab one of these a little bit paler ones. I don't know how many of these to do, honestly. I was kind of just going to go until I felt like there was enough, but I don't. As I'm going, I'm realizing that I don't know what enough feels like for this. I've only got one steak, but it's not small. So if I just sort of grab some of these and dice them up, stick them in my bowl, because I want strawberry to be the dominant flavor, whatever else goes on here. So I need enough strawberries that whatever else I add to it, the strawberries remain strong. Uh, if I do end up getting this job and I have to change my schedule, we might end up doing breakfasts. That could be fun, right? Or prepping something before I leave and then getting back and doing a closing like wrap up when I get back. Either of those could be fun. Uh, we'll see what happens. We shall see what happens. I think these little skinny guys, actually. I don't think the little skinny guys are going to look as nice amid all these large beauties if I do use them for garnish. So eyeballing, I've got, that's about half a cup. I want more than that for sure. So okay, keep going. We're gonna keep going and keep going. I think I did some of the nicest ones first, like the most perfectly shaped ones. So, which no doubt got packed to the top because when they're packing them, like, oh, we'll put the nicest ones at the top so some people will buy them. It's a little tedious cutting all these strawberries. Sorry, when I said I eyeballed half a cup, I got out a measuring cup and held it up, and I couldn't even tell. I didn't even check to see if anyone other than me could see that I was holding up a measuring cup. Uh, I held up a measuring cup just next to the bowl. Okay, okay, this might be the first one that's not perfectly red on the inside. Nope, perfectly red on the inside. Where did they get these strawberries? Damn, they're so good. I'm so used to cutting them open and seeing that little white core just be like white. Uh, what's you guys' favorite thing to do with strawberries since they're in season? Uh, aside from just eating them, 'cause that's probably the overall favorite thing for most people. It's just it's just grabbing one and chowing down. Mmm. Strawberry shortcake is good. I was just about to pull another one. I don't do a lot of baking, so I'm not. I don't think I've ever made my own. I've had strawberry shortcake. I don't think I've ever made my own because I don't think I ever made my own shortcake. Speaking of strawberries and ice cream, I made a discovery via another person who told me about it. So I was told about a discovery um, that this year, on my birthday, the companies Little Debbie and Walmart teamed up to make ice cream, and no one told me. And I don't go to Walmart, so I didn't stumble upon it. And now I've tried one, two actually, because they were 2 pints for $5. And you know what? They're okay. And that's my story. They're okay. I think this one has got a funny shape. Oh, that one's a little bit under. That might be our least perfectly ripe one yet. By which I mean the only one that hasn't been perfectly ripe so far. Uh, I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to go over to. I am going to put a shallot. We're going to start with a shallot because I want to get that savory, but we're going to use the small one. I don't want a ton of shallot in here, so that's what we're going to start. That's around a cup, I think, which is a nice sort of roundy. Okay, so small shallot. Take the tip and the tail off. Pull away the skin. It looks like I got a shallot with only one lobe right in the middle, which is good. They're easier to cut. Shallots. Now, I've talked to you guys about shallots before, specifically about the flavor. Ooh, that one's starting to send up a little sprouty. I guess somebody told him it was spring. I've talked to you about shallots before and how I'm not 100% clear about flavor. I was watching a cooking show by one Adam Ragusa, to plug somebody who doesn't need a plug, but plug him anyways, who gave me another tip as to why you use shallot instead of onion. And it's because the layers are so thin on a shallot that they cook faster and also leave smaller bits in the finished item without having to go through a really laborious fine dice of your onion. And that never occurred to me, but that is entirely true. These layers are so fine that I just have to basically split it lengthwise twice and go through it, and I've got little tiny dices, smaller than I could ever make with a full-size onion. Let's get over to the stove. I'm going to start this right in the pan here. Some olive oil to get us going. Some heat. And some shallot. Now, shallots are, of course, more expensive. So I wouldn't say ditch your onions and go for shallots. But if you need something where you want that oniony flavor in there, but you don't want big chunks of onion, shallots might be the thing you're looking for. See, people say that. People say shallots have a more delicate flavor, and I don't think I agree. That's the thing that is almost always brought up, and I have taste tested them, and I think it depends on the individual shallot and the individual onion. So that's my 2 cents about that. I want to put garlic in this sauce. 1 cloves of garlic, but it's a giant one. This clove of garlic, it's bigger than my thumb. And I'll grate it up now while I'll use one of these. It's handy. I'll grate it up now while the shallot is starting to warm up so that I can throw it in. Basically, I'm going to gradually construct a sauce here out of things that I think might taste good. We had 1 vote for balsamic, so I think I'm going to go with some balsamic. And once I think I've got a sauce that tastes nice, I'm going to put it to the side on a keep warm, start actually cooking the piece of steak. So our garlic is extremely finely minced because I went to put it through my microplane, but it's not going to have a ton of time to develop its allicin. So we're going to have, I would say we're going to have medium strength garlic off of this, which is fine because I don't want the sauce to end up garlic sauce. I want it to end up a strawberry sauce, but with alliums in it. Speaking of alliums and a salad, we're gonna do a side salad. But side salads are fresh, so that'll mostly just be prepping ingredients, and I think I might assemble it right on the. I don't even think I'm gonna do a toss. I think I'm gonna assemble it right on the plate next to the meat, while the meat is resting. Speaking of onions or of alliums, my landlord pointed out that he thinks there are wild onions growing in the corner of the property because he could smell them. Now I haven't noticed it, and I haven't gone looking for them, but that'd be neat. Go find some wild onions. And on the subject of foraging from your yard, there's a big plant growing out where I park my car that I think might be burdock. And I've heard you can eat burdock. Okay, my shallot is rapidly softening. This is the benefit of the really, really thin layers. So we'll throw in my garlic to get that started. Cook until noticeably fragrant and garlicky. And then I guess I'm going to toss the strawberries in. As far as I know, you can probably cook strawberries to death, because that's how you make jams. You cook them down real hard. I don't know what fried strawberry is. That needs some liquid. That definitely needs some liquid. So I'm going to immediately throw in some of my balsamic. Unmeasured. Oh my god, that broke the threads on the cap of my balsamic vinegar. I guess I have to get a rubber band for that. And some white wine. It immediately felt too dry and like I was frying the strawberries instead of cooking them down. So the alcohol and the volatile stuff will all cook out of those. We should end up with a sour, savory, strawberry something. Viewers, have I made any glaring mistakes that you're like, oh my god, why did you do that? Yet. I'm sure to make one at some point. This should also self-thicken, really, right? Because there's pectin in strawberries. I also turned the heat down because I think I don't want to fry the strawberries. Yes, I definitely taste it. See if I think it needs anything. It is a sauce meant to go on top of something else, so I'm aiming for it to taste a bit overwhelming on its own, because it'll balance out with the thing you put it on. Sauces should be quite punchy on their own, in my opinion. It's a problem I have a lot when I'm making something like a curry. I'll taste it and I'll get it like, ooh, it's perfect. And then when I put it on top of rice, it'll be kind of bland because I should have made it extra punchy. Ooh, welcome in, Apsika. What did you put with the strawberry? Well, we have strawberry here in a pan with some white wine, some balsamic vinegar, a shallot, and a clove of garlic. And I'm cooking it up. I've got over here on the cutting board some just quartered strawberries, which I'm probably going to, I think I'll throw a couple in there late so that they can warm through but don't break down. So they got nice like pieces. I want to get this sauce to a place where I think it's a good flavor and then set it aside before I get onto our pork steak, which if you're familiar with, if you've read the title, that's the main dish. It's hiding over here. This is a pork shoulder blade. There's the shoulder blade steak that has been marinated overnight. Um, I'm going to have to give it a taste because I want to make sure it's good. There's no salt in it either. I may end up not salting it, but it probably is going to need a little bit of salt. I'm also worried it might be too acidic, so we might have to add some sugar, but I want to give the strawberries a chance to kind of get mingled in there before I go hard on it. That's a good idea. I don't have any mint, so I can't do mint. I have some dried basil from last year still, and I just planted my new basil, so I could take a couple of leaves off of one of those. Maybe I'll have to go see how they're doing. I don't want to stress them right when they're getting their established, so I could take a peek at them. Otherwise, I do have some of my homegrown dried basil that I could throw in there. That'd be a good idea. That's a good idea. Good idea. I'm gonna get a tasty spoon now, and we're just gonna dip it into the juice. Ooh, oh, it makes your jaw pinch. It's it's got a lot of sour in it. Um, I can really taste the. God, I can mostly taste the wine and the edge of the vinegar. I think the wine needs to cook off more before I can give this an accurate taste. Wasn't getting a lot of strawberry flavor. I wonder if I want to put more strawberries in, or if it's just that the acidity is masking it. It might need some sugar. Uh, Tell you what, you guys keep an eye on the pot. I'm going to grab my little scissors, and I'm going to go take a peek at the. Where's my little scissors? I'm going to go take a peek at my basils and see if any of them look like they are okay enough to take a couple of leaves off of. I don't want to take too much. Um, and it's right out here. I'll be able to talk to you, so it's right on the other side of the wall. So I'll keep chit-chatting while I do so. There might be background noise, so take care. Uh, Here we are outside. just around the corner. Take a peek at my basils. They're still pretty small, but it looks like they're throwing up new leaves. So I think I could take a bit off of this guy. And this one's already, looks like he's ready to start branching. So that's a good one to take the tip off of. I've also got an oregano and a rosemary out here. And looks like somebody's been digging in my baby onions. That's not great. Okay. I've got a couple options here. Coming back. We're coming back in. And I'm going to ask if you could actually hear me chit-chatting while I was outside. Honey. Well, I've got some old honey. Here are my, it's over to the countertop. Here are some basils I just clipped off of the plants. I probably need to give them a break after this because they're quite small. Great. I wasn't sure how well the Bluetooth would work through the wall out to the herb garden. But great. It works. We're still at the phase of doing tech experiments. Honey's a good idea. My honey is a little old because I don't use a lot of honey, which is always my problem with honey. I like it, but I don't like it in sufficient quantities to use it before it goes all hard. So, as you can see, this honey is hard. But something like this, assuming I can get it out of there, yeah, it's not totally crystallized, but it's like a very thick paste. But yeah, something like this where I'm melting it, where I'm heating it, that's ideal for using up this kind of old honey. No, it smells perfectly fine. It smells just like honey. It seems like it's dried out. I wonder if the seal on the package wasn't tight enough, because I know when honey separates, it can start to spoil because the water concentrations change. But this doesn't look like it's separated. This just looks literally like it just dried out. So it's hard to get out of the container a bit. And it looks fine other than being hard. That's the only issue, is just that it's kind of hard to get out of the container. If I finish this, or at least finish it most of the way, then I will feel justified to pick up a new container of honey because I'll have used this one. So that's a great idea. So our sweetener is going to only be honey. I'm not going to add any other sugar since I have this and want to use it up. Oh yeah, and the first blob melted almost immediately, and the second blob should do the same. I'll see about dissolving out the remaining crusty bottom. Maybe I'll make a drink out of it or something. I think I've got enough in there. It was two pretty good, like, small spoon scoops of it. I I cut this basil, so I'm going to have to use the basil because otherwise it'd be a waste. So this is a variety of basil known as Pesto Party. And it's called that because once I take all these large leaves off, you can see it has a second layer on every stem. Oops, you can't see because I'm on the wrong angle. Oops. So I took all the larger leaves off of every stem, and it's still got leaves on every stem. And as it grows larger, those will all get to nearly full-sized leaves. And if I didn't cut the whole thing off, I could just take individual leaves off, and then the little ones would be exposed and grow into full-sized leaves. So you get just tons of leaves of basil off of this without it being a giant plant. It remains a very compact plant. It just grows extremely densely. A lot of the leaves are not even visible from the outside of the plant. It's so dense. It's really kind of amazing. I don't know, it's some miracle of modern breeding, plant breeding. So I don't know how much of this to add. So I'm going to take my 6 largest leaves. Roll them this way with the stem in the center. I've seen this trick done by a professional chef, and I only kind of follow the logic. But it's roll them up and then cut them into little strips, and they won't blacken as much on the edges. And you can do a whole bunch at once. I don't know. Chucking them in. Since we're committed to having basil, chucking them in. I probably should have only taken 2 sprigs because I always forget. That's the thing. I always forget how much I get out of a single sprig of this basil, and I end up cutting too much, and then I have very basil-y food. Our sauce is thickening noticeably, and it's smelling less sharp. It's smelling more jammy almost. Let me have a taster of the juice. Yes. Strong strawberry flavor has joined the. I'm still getting pretty pronounced notes of the wine in there. The sharpness has come down a ton. I think that's probably the honey we added, but a strong strawberry flavor has joined the party. It just took a little bit for it to leach out of the strawberries and into the liquid. It's sweet, but it's not like jam sweet. It's a. I'm gonna leave it chunky. Oh, I'm on the wrong angle again. I'm gonna leave it chunky. I like the chunks for like over the top, and I think I'm gonna chunk some of these big wedges in there, stir them around, let them sort of incorporate before I actually put that on the meat, so that I can have nice big wedges for garnish as well. But I like the chunky. I don't think I'm gonna go further with trying to make this smooth. I do kind of want it to. Well, since I've got a tasty spoon that I've been using, we should check the old coat the back of a spoon trick, and it's not quite there. Ooh, the basil has definitely added. I'm gonna give it a pinch of salt. We don't want too much salt. Wow, we're developing an interesting flavor here. It tastes like sweet strawberries, but it's got a lot of that sort of back of the jaw acidic pinch to it. And when the sweetness fades out of your tongue, it also has a noticeable amount of sort of savory aftertones from the shallot and the garlic. I'm I'm quite impressed with myself, if I do say so. This has turned into a thing. I could see this going on a lot of different things. I could see this. I do think this will be good with meat. I think you could put this on pork, which I'm going to be doing, or I think this would be good with turkey. But also, I could see like taking a scoop of this and putting it over the top of some vanilla ice cream. I could do that with this too. This is ooh, it's got a lot going on. I should taste it now that I've added some salt. Mm, mm. Okay. Yeah, it's not extremely sweet. It's noticeably sweet, but it's not extremely sweet, and I think it's quite well balanced with the acidity in there. And it's just got this little after note of the savoriness. I'm happy with the flavor, so I'm going to put the back burner on super low and move it there, and turn the front burner off. And do I want to take some of these strawberry triangles and toss them in now, or right before I serve it? I think I want to toss them in now. But like just kind of on the top. You can see how much the color has changed since strawberries went in there. They have darkened into a wonderfully sort of jam color. Uh, so these guys floating on top shouldn't really cook down, but they'll be warmed through by the residual heat. Okay, okay. So that's gonna rest there with its spatula. Keep my tasty spoon handy just in case. I'll taste it before I actually serve it as well, so just to make sure I haven't ruined something by having it sit back. Let's get our big guy front and center and heating. I'm gonna do it just shy of medium, or just medium. Maybe just medium. Pickled strawberry does sound good. Let's get our piece of meat up on the table here. Now there was oil in the marinade, but I think I'm going to put just a little bit extra oil on the outside just to make sure that we have enough to get it started. Um, and I'm also going to need another plate because that one's got raw pork juice on it. So a resting plate. If I use all of my white plates for resting plates for this type of thing, then I won't have one to serve it on. And I feel like my brown plate, the meat and the red sauce won't jump out on a brown plate. I wish I had a big white plate that didn't have a bowl in the bottom. Ooh, hey, I might have just this thing. Now not the intended use of it. I've got a plate. I think this is going to be our serving plate, or our. Let me show you this plate. Things are just sort of heating up and resting over there anyways. Oops, that's the wrong angle. That's the wrong angle. This plate. It's a large white plate. It's quite flat. And it is called the giving plate. This plate shall have no owner, for its journey never ends. It travels in a circle of family and friends. It carries love from home to everyone to share. Food that's placed upon it was made with love and care. Please enjoy what's on the plate. Fill it up again and pass it on with the love it holds to your family and friends. Now, I don't think this is the intended use of it, but I'm going to make my own food and serve it to myself on it. Because it's the only plate I have that's the right size and shape for what I want to do. It's big enough for, oops, it's big enough for the steak. It's larger than the plate it's already on. No, this was not a Goodwill find. This was gifted to me with food upon it, as the description states. When I received this, there was a cake on it. And I need to come up with something that I can place upon it and hand it off as well. In the meantime, it is going to be the plate upon which I serve this steak. Now, I don't normally pre-cut my steaks when I put them, but we might do that this time. Since I do have a large white plate that can be used for serving, which I'm going to keep handy there, I feel okay about using my other small white plate as a resting plate. And all I need then is a appropriately sized steel bowl to turn upside down to act as a cloche so that it stays warm while I'm not thinking about it. Are you hot yet? You are definitely getting there. So, oil. We're just going to take a dribble of oil right on the meat. Rub it in with my hand. The function of the oil, because obviously there's a lot of fat in this, so it doesn't need extra fat. It's bleeding a little bit out of the marrow in the bone that's in there. The function of the oil is to ensure a good thermal interface between the meat and the pan when I put it in the pan. Now it'll start rendering its own fat, but I don't think it's going to render quite fast enough. See what it does when I flick a drop of water at it. It instantly sizzles and jumps. I think it's actually slightly too hot. It's not smoking, and this steak is only not quite an inch thick, so I want, see, so the lot, not quite an inch thick. So I don't think this pork is a common cut in the US because I have never had it before. So this is an experiment for me. The package called this a shoulder blade steak. The bone in here is, in fact, a cross section of the shoulder blade, the scapula. I feel like this piece of meat is relatively common, but not in a steak form. I think this is what you would call a butt or a Boston butt, which paradoxically comes from the shoulder. Uh, and I think that you get cuts near this that don't have the bone in it as steaks sometimes, but I'm not familiar with this one specifically. So we are doing a learn as well. And I'm just sort of holding my hand over the pan to try to judge whether I think that's the right temp or not. And I don't know why, because I'm a terrible judge of temperature by holding my hand over it. I can tell you that it's hot, that it's hotter than I want to touch, that if I touched it, I would hurt my hand. That's all I can tell you. So I guess we dive in. We get tongs ready before I dive in so that I have them ready. So there's tongs, but I'm going to actually place it in the pan just using my hand. Did you catch that sizzle? Ooh, and I can immediately smell the marinade cooking. I hope that my marinade's not too acidic. There was some acid in it. And I've been watching a bunch of videos. The sauce isn't even bubbling, honestly. I probably should go higher. It's on the lowest setting just as a keep warm back there. The marinade is olive oil, soy sauce, garlic powder, black pepper, mustard, which is what I'm smelling, and a little bit of lemon juice. So there was some acid in it. Not a ton of acid compared to the volume of the marinade, because I didn't want the meat to go mushy. But some, and now I'm putting it in a cast iron pan. And I did scrape it off and blot it off, so it's not like it's swimming in marinade right now. But I have recently been watching a bunch of videos, cooking videos, about steaks, because I need to learn more about steaks. I don't know anything about cooking steaks. It's my one of my biggest gaps in my cooking knowledge. And I just watched one that said it's much like the quote unquote proper way is to let it sit on one side and develop its crust and then flip it and do the other side. But I've now been told that phooey with that. You can flip it as soon as it releases. Start flipping it back and forth. And it's also a pork steak, so I am going to err on doing it more done than I would a beef steak of equal size. I don't ascribe to the thought that pork needs to be cooked through and through every time, but I don't want it to be rare either. I don't think I like that side of the cooking spectrum for pork. Although this is a very dark piece of pork, so it might work. I'm not sure, but I'm going to err on the side of a bit more done. I'm hoping to keep some of the sort of that blush middle at least. And I'm hoping that some of this fat cap will also render. We might have to set it up on that end toward the end just to burn through this big guy, because this is a pretty hefty. I probably could have trimmed it. I might end up throwing part of that away because it is so large. But we'll once I got both sides cooked, I'll hold it upright on that for a little while to sort of burn through it. I'm always leery of trimming steaks because the one time I did, I cut off a whole bunch of good meat and it made the thing look like a terrible mess. We're a little bit. Oh no, we're releasing. We're releasing. Not all at once, but it's getting there. That's good. That's what I was hoping for. The danger in the acidic marinade, in my mind, is that it will break through. Ooh, that's looking pretty good. In my mind, the danger of the acidic marinade was that it would break through the seasoning on the pan and cause the meat to just stick. Let's get rid of this juicy pan. Bring this guy back. Yeah, it's a nice color, and I'm probably going to flip it again. Give it one on each side again, because now it's going to stick. I got to wait for it to release one more time. I wasn't planning on doing a baste with it. I was just planning on flipping it back and forth until it got the color, but I might add a little bit. It's actually different. Well, if I can render down that cap a little bit, that should add enough fat to the pan to work with. So yeah. I mean, it's looking good to me. I've never cooked this cut of meat in this style. Well, I've never cooked this cut of meat, period. But I've never cooked in this style, so I'm pleased. It looks a lot like a beef steak right now, right? That's what really caught my eye when I saw these at the store. Was it's a cut of pork that's almost as red as the beef. I want to try that, and it was on discount, so that was a bonus. We're still stuck. That's something that I had to get over as well with my cooking of meats, is that I am afraid that when it sticks, it's going to stay stuck. And I have to keep reminding myself that no, it's not going to stay stuck. It's going to stick. And then when the crust starts to form, it's going to release. Wow, I've got so many people up and watching right now. I'm excited. This pan, I could have used my smaller pan, but it would have been more tricky to maneuver the flipping, because this meat is just about the same width as my smaller cast iron. So glad I went with the big one. I would be doing something else right now, but I want to keep an eye on this. So I'm just kind of standing and chit-chatting and looking over at you periodically. You're over here in this direction. I almost point at the camera when I'm looking at chat, which is neat. I've been thinking of trying to rearrange my camera setup to see if I can get better angles on things. And Twiggy, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Twiggy, pointed out that she's got her camera set up so that whenever she looks over to read chat, she faces chat along the side of, I suppose your directions, along the side of the panel. And then when she's playing the game, she's facing the game. It's neat. She's got herself in between. She's got her camera set up in between the game and chat. Whoa, we're getting some good color on this guy. And that second side released perfectly. We're still got a little bit of bounce. It's definitely a little bit squishy on this side still, so we're still not cooked through and through in the middle. But I definitely need that. Here, let's get an angle so you aren't in the dark. You're always in the dark. I want to render down this big fat cap a bit. So I guess I'm going to stand and hold it for a hot minute. And then I think we're going to do each side again once I've got this this cap shot down a bit. I do have a meat thermometer, and I'm going to test it when I think it's ready to come off. But I would like to teach myself to cook without relying 100% on the meat thermometer. So I'll have the meat thermometer double check my judgment today, rather than be the uh, the first line of defense. Meat thermometer is off now. It's ready to go. It was over here, just off the side. Um, I would like to be able to judge these without probing them first. So we're going to do both today. We're going to judge it and then probe it. I'm smoking a little bit, but my fat cap is getting smaller, so that's exactly what I was going for. Now, which side did I just do? It was that side. I'm smoking a little bit in the pan. I think it's because I was pressing down. So I'm going to give it enough time on each side again to sort of try to fill in the crust a little bit. We might grab a spoon and try to baste with its own drippings. It's not too much longer at this point. It's not. But I am going to give it a second pass on each side. Let's see how much I can pool if I. Not a ton. And it doesn't drip through very fast. Oh, panhandle is hot though. So yeah, I think that doing flips is going to be easier because I'm not getting as much drippings, and I don't want to add a big wad of butter to this because it was quite fatty to begin with. So, but now I got to keep an eye on it because I don't want this either side of it to burn. Um, and I also want to make sure I have it still be kind of springy. Ooh, okay, we're getting a little bit of actual charring on the edges, so that no more on this side. I think that's right at the edge of where I would call it over, because it has actually burned slightly right on the edge of the fat cap, and just a few little corner spots where it was pressing particularly hard. I know, but I'm foregoing the butter. I'm willfully being sad today. um, but this is beautiful. This is coming out beautifully. I'm quite pleased with where we're at here. Uh, I haven't been timing this. I'll have to go back in the VOD and see how much time I've actually spent on either side with this. Helpfully, everything's being recorded, so I can just go back and check. I think we're losing our springiness a little bit. So I am honestly we're losing our springiness a little bit more than I think I was going for. So I'm taking it off now, and I will see if my judgment was correct. And meat thermometer go right to the middle. I've got 139, just getting up to 140 from the carryover. So I'm gonna ask Google. Steak temperatures. Not the USDA. The USDA is an idiot. So we're at a medium in the middle. And it's still doing some carryover. The first thing that popped up when I asked for steak doneness, the USDA suggests that you cook your steak to an internal temperature of 160 degrees, which is like great, fine. I like eating shoe leather sometimes. I'm gonna put my silver. I don't have a proper cloche, but I have got a bunch of steel pans or steel bowls. This guy is smoking, so I'm gonna get him off of that burner. Because the curse of the electric burner is that they keep heating after you've turned them off. Actually, get this guy away from the thing entirely. So we're looking at a medium, so we should have some blush in the middle, which is fine. We're also gonna, it's also gonna come up some more as it does carry over, because it was actively rising even as I was taking its temperature off the plate. So I was definitely into the middle part somewhere. So I'm happy with that. I think my judgment was good. I was shooting for a medium. Once upon a time, you always cooked your pork well done, well done, well done, well done, because there was an epidemic of trichinella in the United States, especially. I could probably count on one hand the number of cases of trichinosis that have occurred in my lifetime. It has been functionally eradicated. So if you think pork is dry, stop overcooking pork, and it won't be so dry. So while that is resting, and I wasn't timing it, so I don't know how long it's supposed to rest, but it's going to sit there, and the silver bowl is going to keep it from getting cold. We'll come back over here. I've still got some strawberries. I wanted to make a salad to go with this because all I've got at the moment is a big hunk of meat and a strawberry sauce. So we'll get out our plate. I helpfully have some basil, so I think I'm going to throw those in my salad. The salad can be a reflection of the things I've put into the main course item, strawberries and basil, but in their freshest forms. So on that, to that end, I'm actually going to take these guys and split them again into little slivers. And I did pick up a salad mix because I couldn't find arugula by itself. And it feels like a bit of a cheat to use a salad mix for a cooking show. So I'm going to have to make sure that the rest of the salad is extra nice to make up for it. Because I wanted arugula in my salad. Or I assume it's arugula. This stuff, the kind of roughly edged leaves that are a little more peppery than a standard lettuce. I might be wrong. That might not be arugula, but so strawberry, basil. What do you think? Tomato? The salad is going to be the entirety of the veg component on my plate, so it should be quite substantial to go with the quite substantial amount of meat. I'm not going to eat that whole steak. In fact, I probably want to cut it on the board and put it on a plate for service. Since it's got the bone in there, it'll be hard to take slices out of it directly on the plate. Red onion, which I'm going to take just kind of the side off of. Everyone's sticking around to see how the steak looks when I break into it, I hope. This is not the ideal knife for this, but it's the one I already had dirty, so it's the one that's getting used. The salad's going to need a dressing too. Something simple. There's already balsamic in the strawberry sauce. So probably just some balsamic and some olive oil and some salt and pepper would probably be all I think I need. That's quite a bit of red onion, actually. As I break all the little rings apart. Okay. Another bowl into which I'm throwing my red onion. I'm going to take all the little extra leaves off of these little guys. They can go in the salad. I'm going to cut up the larger ones. I want little bits of the basil throughout. But not as finely as I cut the ones in the other application in the sauce. So red onion, basil, pre-mixed greens. This needs. You know what I've got? You know what I've got? I've got the little end of a tomato here. I'm going to throw that in as well. It needs to get used up. No sense in waiting. We'll take the middle out of it, get rid of that, and I'm also going to take this little blemish off of the outside. Normally I don't mind the blemishes on tomatoes, but that one looked a little extra blemishy. Ranch dressing. I don't have any ranch dressing. Ranch dressing is like a creamy. How do you describe ranch dressing? It's creamy. It's a combination of buttermilk and mayonnaise and sour cream. It's got so many herbs in it. It's got garlic, onion, chives, a bunch of other herbs in it. Black pepper. So it's got a lot. It's got a sort of a mixed herb flavor, but not a really strong one because it's immersed in this sort of dense, creamy sauce. I haven't got any. I used to have a little jar of powdered ranch. Oh, actually, I still have it. I never use it because it hardened into a block. Helpful. Buttermilk, salt, garlic, onion, acid, spices, which is unhelpful. Also, artificial flavors and natural flavors. So, unhelpful. And the picture just has nothing on it. Not even a pip. Looking at it, I don't know. It's got a bunch of little dried up leaves in it. I know there's chives in it. There's probably parsley in it. I don't know. It's a. I'm not a huge fan of ranch dressing, personally. I know some people just absolutely swear by it, put it on everything. So I'm making a very large salad on my plate here. And then the other half of the plate is going to be our steak. Was that helpful? My my description of ranch dressing that didn't include much detail. Strawberries. Welcome in. Make my own ranch dressing from scratch. I could try that. I've never done that. I've only used the mix. It is, of course, something that you could make from scratch. The salad has gotten out of control. Okay. Thing that happened, the first thing that happened. The salad has become an out of control monster salad. I maybe should have dialed back a bit on that massive salad. Welcome in, Sarcasmic. By the way, I didn't welcome you in. You just said something. You've come just in time for the end. Now, I almost want to take part of this away just because it is so enormous. What do you think? Too much salad? It's already on there. I'm gonna leave it. Too much. Okay, I can fix it. I can fix it. I need my rubber tongs. Not enough. I want to just kind of take this corner off of it. So there. That, I think, is a much happier amount of salad. I think that was just too big of a pile. I went overboard. Happier amount of salad, and I can have a nice, like, spread of meat, and I'll just eat this as a snack tonight. Getting out another board. Because we're bringing out the big boy. Here he comes. He lost a little bit of juice on the plate, which I said I might put the pan drippings into the sauce. I still might do that. So I was thinking, because I got this bone here, if I like cut along the side of the bone, I could take this chunk and do it into like little slices and display and then drizzle my sauce over the top of that. So let's get out. Now it's not. This isn't like a T-bone where the bone is perfectly straight down. So I hope this works. I'm doing this on the plate for some reason, and I don't know why. You should be on the cutting board. Then I can just dig in. Because we almost got through it. Drippings. That's terrible. Okay, that plate's just going to get set aside in a terrible place, but it's out of the way. Using my little paring knife to get that off of there, and then we're going to move the big piece back onto the plate. And we have a nice sort of pink middle in there, which I like. I'm aware, for those of you viewing, that the color balance on this camera is a bit weird. I haven't been able to fix it. I've tried. So if you want really nice photos of this, there will be a shot of the finished plate on my Twitter. And I also tend to toss it into the various Discord channels that I'm a part of. These aren't super long, but they look good. The crust is nicer on this side, so this is the upside. I should also do it just a taster of one of these little knobby bits. Ooh! Ooh! Mmm! Oh, it's juicy and flavorful. It's so tender. Wow! It's almost sweet just by itself. Oh, right. I forgot. I put some sugar in the marinade too. That's why I'm getting this. That's why I'm getting the sweetness. That explains why I'm getting that little almost sweetness. The secret ingredient from the marinade. Oh, it's wow. I don't know. I don't have words to describe meat. It tastes like pork. It's very tender. It's so soft. It's not. I don't think it's undercooked in the middle. It's got that distinct like bite of cooked meat, but it's very tender. Um, I'm glad I went with cooking this like a steak and not trying to like slow cook it. Because despite the amount of fat that was in and around it, I was expecting it to be a bit of a tougher piece of meat, and then the fat kind of balances it out. But no, this is a really quite a tender. I'm going to leave this knobby end. This side definitely is a little paler. It got more pale toward that end. It's got this nice pink blush on the narrow end where I started slicing. So we're gonna have that knob sort of be on the plate, and then I'm going to do an artful arrangement here. I have argued with people I should dip a piece in the sauce. Yeah. We'll take this little knobby guy at the end. I almost forgot about the sauce. I have definitely more sauce than I need for this, but so a piece of meat, dab of sauce. The fact that the sauce is acidic is actually great because the meat is got just a bit of sweetness to it. Mmm. Okay, resting the sauce on low temperature, I think, was a good idea. It's got a good, strong strawberry flavor. It almost tastes like jam, but then it comes at you with this acid punch. I think making the sauce acidic was great, considering that I did a sweeter marinade on the meat. Mmm. Mmm. It does not need a ton of sauce, but the sauce does add to the meat. I'm going to do a drizzle here. I'll do it my. Let me move this. I'm going to eat this last little nub. It's not quite like sweet and sour pork. It's I think it's in that same kind of realm, but the strawberry flavor is distinct. So it's not like I took extra steps to make a sweet and sour pork. And the meat itself behaves a lot like a steak. It reminds me of like a sirloin, maybe. An American sirloin, not a British sirloin. I think those are different cuts. Let's get my sauce over here. And have two of the full berries rest on the big guy. And do an artful drizzle down the middle of my chunks. And push the chunks aside and scoop out a little bit of the extra juice and do a little bit of an artful drizzle with our juice. And I'm going to take one more of these and pop it on the end like a stinger. And there's my plate. Strawberries, strawberries. Get them while they're in season. Wow, I have to keep an eye out for this cut of pork. So this was called a shoulder blade steak. And it was easier to cook than I think a beef, and it was about a third or a quarter of the price. And it's so good. I need to take pictures of this. I'm gonna head over to my photo station, which is in the other room here. I'll keep up the chit chat while I do so. I'm gonna need a fork to sit next to my plate because it makes it look nicer, I think. And a knife. Got to get the photos quick because glistening fresh meat has that slightly moist surface and it dries out fast. Okay. Thanks for coming in, Epsika. I cook different things all the time, so you never know what I'm going to make in here. Today, we were experimenting with a new cut of meat that I've never used before, and fresh strawberries. But glad you could make it. You were actually a big help. You had some good suggestions in there. So you're always welcome here, and I often ask for suggestions from the audience while I'm cooking. So if you've got ideas and want to pitch in, that is also great. Have a good sleep. I'll see you next time. Glass of wine next to this would be good too, just for the picture. Wow, I'm very impressed with this. So the package of the steaks I picked up had 2 in it, so I've got another one of these frozen. I froze the other one, but this was the nicer of the 2, so I went with it first. Figured I should give it its best chance. The other one was a little unevenly cut, but considering how well this one went, I think that one should not be difficult to make. Just a beautiful dinner out of. And if you haven't had a chance, well, buy to Bookwoman as well. If you've never had a chance to have pork in a more medium capacity, give it a chance. But make sure you're in, first of all, make sure you're in a place where you can be pretty reliably free from trichinella. It's been functionally eradicated in my region, but I don't know that that's true everywhere. So, but if you've ever had complained about pork being too dry, this pork is not too dry. I didn't dress my salad. That's the last thing. I'm going to do that. And you know what? Tiny Whisk. It's your time to shine, Tiny Whisk. We need your services now more than ever. You knew we couldn't go a day without the Tiny Whisk. We're building a quick dressing, and the Tiny Whisk is needed to bring it together. That's already out. I'm doing a vinaigrette, and I'm eyeballing all of the ingredients, so I don't know if it's actually going to be a proper vinaigrette. And, oh, I do have Dijon. Probably too much mustard. Probably going to end up being a mustard dressing. But without Tiny Whisk, it would just be a pool of oil floating on top of a pool of vinegar. So should have done this before I took my photos. Okay. Tiny Whisk aside. Gently dress my salad. Vinaigrette is usually my favorite dressing, and I don't know the proper proportions to make it. I just eyeball it every time, so it's never the same. Okay. Well, I've already taken the photos, so let's give it a taste. I do want to see if I can taste how the salad has come together with all these things as well. It's obviously not the main event here, but it's still important. So we're going to take a big bite of salad. I'm going to try to get all the various elements, including some of the basil, in there. Crunchy, fruity, bright, fresh strawberry flavor complements the slight bitterness of the mixed greens. The dressing tastes like a balsamic vinaigrette. The basil actually comes through pretty strongly, despite there only being a tiny bit of it in there. So that was a good addition as well. And I didn't end up wasting any basil. I'm happy. It's good. It's light. It's fresh. It's bright. It's a good compliment to something like this, which is very, very meaty and succulent. Oh, I got another bite with the sauce, which means no more photos. I'm going to take one of these big chunks. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Final twist. Those strawberry wedges that I just kind of floated on top of the sauce and left alone have themselves softened to an almost jam consistency. But they still have an extremely bright, sweet strawberryness to them. They haven't taken on any of the acidity of the sauce, just cooked into sort of this bright strawberry. Yet another twist upon the dish. I'm extremely happy with this. This is great. This worked out perfectly. I know Absik is already gone, but literally couldn't have done it without you, bud. This is perfect. And it's coming to that time where I got to eat this because it's cooling off fast. So we're going to quick jump over to my main angle. Expect photos of this shortly because I'm gonna polish this thing off and then we're gonna move on to photos. If anyone's got a suggestion for a place to raid, I am open to it. We've had good luck with raid suggestions in the past, and I don't have a lot of channels up right now that I am following that are live right now. So we could dive into total randomness. Unless somebody's got a good suggestion. In the absence of suggestions, I'm going to go looking in the food and drink category for somebody that's doing something that looks interesting that isn't one of these constant 24-hour Anthony Bourdain rerun channels, of which there are somehow multiple. Take a peek at this guy. I've got an ad, of course. Cooking something. I hope the sound isn't coming through. I tried muting. Oop. I'm peeking a little bit there. I think I've got it muted, but I might be blasting you with sound. Well, it is a. Whew, he's been going for 9 hours, and he's not done yet because there's still cooking to be happening. Let's jump in on this guy. We're going to say HC Justin, who has got an outdoor griddle. He's just slapping some chicken onto. So let's go get to him real quick. And jump in on him. Thanks for coming out. Always glad to have you. Today was exciting. We had new friends. We had a delicious experiment that worked out perfectly. Everything went swimmingly. I'll be back on. I haven't changed my schedule yet, so I'll be back on Thursday, even though Thursday seems like a rough day at the moment. And maybe I'll do Friday as well. Maybe we'll do a double experiment. I could do a carry Friday in or a Thursday into Friday experiment. I'm not going to do a long countdown. See you next time. 3, 2, 1, raid.